want to be clear. Belief is not required. Replication is. My name is irrelevant now. My credentials and identity have been erased more efficiently than my publications. But for the record, I was a senior research fellow in observational astrophysics, specializing in signal extraction and cross-spectrum coherence modeling. My work focused on anomalous photometric fluctuations in extragalactic microlensing events, specifically data associated with PA99N2b in the Andromeda Galaxy. The anomaly was not in the gravitational lensing curve, it was in the optical background noise. During a long baseline survey combining archival depth photometry with ESA deep field optical drift scans, I identified periodic femtosecond spikes embedded within what had been cataloged as atmospheric interference and cosmic scatter. The pattern did not repeat cleanly, it precessed. This is what caught my attention. The spikes were coherent across separated observatories. Noise does not coordinate across continents. After 3 years of modeling, I determined the fluctuations were not broadband. They were collimated. Extremely narrow-band optical emissions, consistent with high-power phased laser arrays, but misaligned from Earth by approximately 0.42 degrees. We were intercepting scatter, not the beam. It was not meant for us. The modulation frequency was not binary. It used prime interval spacing embedded in a quasi-fractal timing envelope. That envelope took me 6 additional years to flatten. When rendered as spatial data instead of temporal data, when mapped into a 3-dimensional tensor lattice and allowed to resolve as a volumetric construct rather than a waveform, it produced an image. You have seen it. It is there, in front of you. The projection shows Andromeda and the Milky Way in correct relative orientation, including galactic tilt and radial velocity vectors. The distance is collapsed via bifurcation, a visual separation implying scale rather than representing it literally. The origin point corresponds to the microlensing systems. The target lies within the Orion arm of the Milky Way, not Earth, nearby. Accompanying the projection is symbolic language. I cannot translate it fully. However, statistical recurrence modeling suggests several glyph clusters repeat in structurally meaningful positions. The following are not confirmed translations. They are probability peaks. The first is transit, or possibly passage, then field, alternatively medium, confluence, or merge for the third. The one phrase that repeats adjacent to the Milky Way projection, most probable interpretation is convergence in process. I resisted that translation for months. It is statistically defensible. The geometry implies coordination and the scale implies inevitability. I presented preliminary findings to a closed review panel. I was asked whether I had been sleeping, whether I had been medicated, whether I had considered a leave of absence. My clearance was suspended pending psychiatric evaluation. My network access was revoked before the evaluation concluded. They do not believe the signal is artificial. They didn't decode it. They didn't even try. I finished the work without institutional hardware. I used consumer GPUs, distributed processing, open source quantum annealing simulations. It is inelegant, but it is sufficient. The image, the structure, the target is all real. The beam has been continuous for longer than we have been capable of noticing. We are not meant to be the recipient. We are proximal to the recipient. I will not be reachable after this dissemination. This is not paranoia, it is pattern recognition. My accounts are flagged. My movements are being monitored. This is the last channel not yet indexed. I am sending this out to as many recipients as I can, with the courage and access to disseminate this across low-friction platforms with plausible deniability. We flood the zone with it. We call it friction. We call it speculation. We call it whatever we need to ensure it gets out there. They will attribute this to mania. They will be partially correct. Obsession is indistinguishable from mania when one is alone with the truth. But mania does not produce coordinate-consistent extragalactic cartography. Mania does not encode prime interval fractal modulation into collimated optical scatter. Mania does not map galactic drift with sub-degree accuracy. I'm not suicidal. I do not have long, but that is irrelevant. The data must persist beyond me. Verify the spike. Reconstruct the lattice. Render the projection volumetrically. Look at where it points, and ask yourself why the signal is increasing in intensity.